Right now, we're about halfway through the month of April, which was supposed to be when closed beta testing began for New World. Anyone who pre-ordered was promised access to the game this month, giving them a chance to test systems and find bugs prior to the original launch date planned for May. Well, for a variety of reasons, not least of which being the current global situation, plans have changed. New World's closed beta and launch date have both been pushed back a few months, and a lot of the New World community is not very happy, vocally expressing frustration on the delay announcement video, forums, and social media. Now in today's video, I want to talk about the delay of the game, some of the likely reasons it's happening, how it could actually be a good thing in the end for New World. But before I do that, ad revenue is pretty garbage on YouTube right now, so just bear with me for a minute and enjoy this word from today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Skyforge, a free-to-play sci-fi fantasy MMO. The game features a dynamic action combat system with combo attacks and a variety of weapons and skills to choose from, 18 unique classes, each with their own playstyle that you can swap between on the fly, and a variety of content including PvE and PvP options with over 100 different locations on multiple planets to explore. Now Skyforge is celebrating its 5-year anniversary with loads of new content, including the Invasion Atlas system, Nightmare challenges, and the Divine Form Wakan. There's also the Fight Tonight Invasion, where you can complete challenges to earn points with 30 tiers of rewards available through the Invasion Pass. If you want to check out Skyforge yourself for free, go ahead and click on the link in the video description below. And now, let's get back to the video. Alright, so let's talk about the delay of New World. I want to start off just by showing the announcement video that we got direct from the developer.
Like most of you, things have changed pretty dramatically for us in the way we work and live these past few months. Our entire team had to transition to working from home. We're still working hard and we're making progress, but because game development is so collaborative and highly technical, the remote work situation has exposed some problems we're still trying to work through. As a result, we've had to make the difficult decision of pushing New World's launch date to August 25th, 2020. Our number one mission is to ship New World at the highest possible quality, and we needed to give ourselves enough time to do that while still keeping our team safe. And we hope that you'll understand that this was because of the extraordinary circumstances we're going through.
It's a pretty short announcement, it's not saying too much, and really isn't saying anything like too surprising. There's a lot going on, a lot of non-essential businesses are being forced to shut down, or if not forced, at least electively choosing to shut down, causing a lot of people to shift from working from home. So the dev team is now working from home. This in turn has made development a lot harder or more complicated or caused issues that they weren't initially anticipating prior to all of this happening. And because of this, they don't think they're going to have the game fully finished for the original planned launch date in May. All of this seems totally reasonable, right? But boy, oh boy, some people out there are very upset. If you look at the announcement video alone, it's got nearly 50% dislikes on it, which is just insane to me. Like, I can understand people being upset that the game that they wanted to play and were looking forward to isn't going to be available when they were expecting. And I think it doesn't help that we're right now, again, about halfway through the month, that all of these people were anticipating getting to play the game. So they're like, why did you wait, 2 weeks into the month before you told us that the alpha that have been sitting here tapping our foot for waiting on isn't gonna actually end up happening, or the closed beta rather, to get my words right here. So one of the top comments here I think is like a legitimate question. It says, please at least let founders play the alpha. A lot of people are in quarantine and wanting something to play. I think that that's like a fair request, right? But something to consider is that when these people aren't in their normal work situations, they're not in their office and everyone is secluded in their homes working, it probably makes it difficult to do things like the managing of servers and the hot fixing and all that stuff, as we've learned time and time again with launches of games and servers just getting completely overwhelmed. It's already difficult enough when they're in their normal work environment, let alone everyone working from home. That certainly makes things more difficult. And really, this request and this question comes up a lot. Will you send out alpha keys to those who bought the game at least? At least release alpha for people who purchased the beta. Give those who pre-ordered alpha keys at least, I mean, to be fair. And again, I do think it's a fair request. I understand the frustration from these people, but I don't think it's as simple as just give out keys to everyone who pre-ordered the game. They probably would have huge server issues, again, because they're not in their normal work environment. environment. That would be my expectation. And then you've got like these massive comments here, and I'm not going to go through bit by bit, but it seems to be a lot of people saying essentially that this is just an excuse. And it feels really uncomfortable to say that out loud with everything that's going on, and businesses are shutting down, people are unemployed, all this stuff happening, and then to be like, oh, you're just using that as an excuse. Like, there's most certainly some truth to the idea that they could use this extra time, no question. And there's even some questions here of people saying like, what do you mean it's more complicated or more difficult to develop remotely than it is in the office? People saying that, I work in software and, we do everything remotely. But again, it's one thing if you're already set up to do your entire job remotely versus a company that's used to working at the studio with the computers that are there, with the software that is there, with everything that's stored locally and having direct access to the servers and all of these things, and then just taking that entire development team and dispersing them and telling everyone to work from home, where maybe they don't have the greatest editing computers or whatever, programming computers at home, and maybe they don't have all of the files, so they don't have the proper software, or their internet isn't great, or, they don't have these internal systems where they can quickly transfer files from one person to, again, I'm not a game developer, but I can imagine that it could be much more difficult if you aren't set up initially to work remotely, to all of a sudden be thrust in that situation, and then to have that happen just like a month and a half before the launch of your game, which again, if you follow game development, a lot of studios are doing that super hard push. The last few months, crunch time is a real thing that happens all the time, and you could at least concede the idea that maybe if we weren't planning on working remotely and then going through the crunch period right before launch, trying to do that remotely, is it not like a reasonable idea that could possibly cause some issues that you weren't expecting, and it could potentially make things more difficult? There's a ton of other comments. I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy to me that this thing has 50% downvotes, and it's crazy that people can't fathom the idea that this makes things more difficult. I think a lot of the frustrations coming from people who pre-ordered the game expecting to get to play right now, and then they had to wait till almost halfway through the month to find out that they weren't going to be able to play. And they're frustrated because they were looking forward to it. And you know what? Hey, a lot of these people probably out of the job or probably affected, like many of us are, by the current global situation. Notice I'm not saying the word because that instantly gets your videos demonetized. A lot of people are just sitting at home twiddling their thumbs, and they were hoping to get to play this. And I get why they're frustrated, but you don't have to act like you can't comprehend how working remotely can make development more complicated and cause issues that they weren't expecting. I think it's totally reasonable, and I think ultimately it's probably a good thing because, yeah, New World was coming in pretty hot. There was a lot of concerns. There's a lot of features that apparently were getting added on at the very last minute, and they probably could use these couple of extra months. Now, whether or not they're gonna say that is the reason in this delay video, I mean, that's on their shoulders, that they decided to say it was solely due to the remote work situation. I have no doubt that they're partially happy that they get the extra time with this game to try to make it better than it currently is, or than it may have otherwise been. This isn't the first, and it's not going to be the last video game related thing that has been delayed because of what's going on. We saw it with The Last of Us 2 has been indefinitely delayed just because they couldn't print enough physical copies of the game. They are done that game. The Last of Us 2 is finished development, but because they can't print enough discs with the distribution and the manufacturing getting all screwed up right now, they're deciding to indefinitely delay it. And they're not even done New World, so don't be surprised that they're delaying a game that's not even done yet because of what's going on. It makes sense, right? When it comes to the pre-order thing, just don't, okay? It's one thing if like there's this indie company and you feel like they could use your support. This is Amazon here, okay? They're the company probably doing the best in the current global market right now, right? Amazon is doing quite fine. They don't need your $60 pre-order to make sure the game gets developed, all right? So save your money, do your refunds, don't pre-order, wait until it gets close to launch, wait until we see more gameplay, wait until the reviews come out, but don't throw a hissy fit because you pre-ordered and I expect it to get to play this month. I'm gonna pretend that I don't know what's going on in the world and get mad about not getting to play this game that I pre-ordered. It just seems very unreasonable to me and unempathetic to the situation. I get the critiques of some people saying you're just using this as an excuse, but come the hell on. Really? Come on. There's probably some truth to that. This is probably convenient for them, given that the game was likely coming in very, very hot, and they were likely going to be crunching 80 hours a week for the next few weeks, but just, it's not the time or the place. It's kind of ridiculous to me. And then the final thing here is this is just another chapter in what has been kind of a rocky lead up to the launch of New World. It's been strange. I guess I expected that we would get a ramp up in excitement and conversation and people looking forward to New World, but it has been a very bumpy road. It has been very up and down, and I don't know what's going to happen with New World. Like any game, I wish them the best. I hope it turns out well and that it ends up being a fun game to play and people enjoy it. That would be great if every game was like that. Hopefully they make the best use of this time, this extra development time that they have, and they do add more and polish up New World and make it as good of an experience as it can be. But in terms of the delay, it's reasonable, it's understandable with everything going on, and ultimately, hopefully it ends up being a good thing for the game. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me today. Kind of ranted a bit about this one. It's just crazy. You know, we live in crazy times. I think if nothing else, everyone could do well with just having more empathy and understanding for people. Whether or not you believe them saying that this is solely because of the remote work situation, just try to be a decent human, right? Get your refunds if you're upset that you pre-ordered, but also stop pre-ordering video games. What are you doing? We've been talking about this for like 15 years. There's no need unless you're supporting an indie company, and that ain't Amazon. Let me tell you.